a middle school language arts teacher, author of the Lunar Chronicles and the upcoming YA series, The Elementals. This is my Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer Part 2 YA book review, and that includes the books Fairest, which before I even knew what this series was, I thought that cover was super creepy. Winter, which I actually adore this cover. I don't know why. It's just the whole glowing apple thing. And then this is Stars Above. And this is the whole series. The core of the series is 4 books, but Fairest is book 3.5 and Stars Above is book 4.5. So Fairest here is Queen Levana's story. This is book 3.5. It should be read in between Cress and Winter. And I have to admit, it was very helpful reading it in between Cress and Winter, because when I went to read Winter, it helped me understand a lot more. And if you don't already know, Winter is Princess Winter, and she's Queen Levana's stepdaughter. And this is basically, this book starts when Levana's parents have been murdered by a shell. And it's about her relationship with her sister and about her development of feelings for a man who is a bit older than her, and kind of about this warped perception that she has of love. One of the things I didn't like about this book is that it doesn't have chapters. It's 220 pages long, and it does have the like the little icon that is a scene change, but it doesn't actually have chapters. And for me, I like to end on chapters. So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a deal breaker. It was just a personal preference. And this book was very helpful in understanding more about Levana and Princess Winter, but there are some kind of disturbing scenes, in my opinion, basically involving Queen Levana and how her sister Shannery treated her, and some of the choices Queen Levana made when she became older in the name of her love for her country. And like I said, we realized she has a very warped perception of what love is and what it means to be loved. And really, she's just psychotic. So Queen Levana is a super creepy villain, and this story helps us to understand her a little bit better. And it kind of makes you realize, which as a teacher I've said this before, that sometimes children are a product of their environment, or people are a product of their environment, and I think it takes special people to be able to rise above that. And Queen Levana kind of rises above it, but in a very unsafe way for those around her, I guess you could say. So I gave this book 4 stars. And that leads me to Winter, which is based off of the fairy tale of Snow White. And I really enjoyed this book. The only thing I didn't enjoy is that it's like 820 pages long, which is very long for a YA book. But then again, it's the last book in the series, so there was a lot of overarching plot points that needed to be resolved and concluded. It has in it what I like to call false climaxes. There's a couple times when you think an epic battle between Cinder and Queen Levana is about to happen, and it kind of does. So at parts it seemed a little bit dragged out, but then again, at the same time, you don't want the story to end if you're really enjoying it. So I gave this book 4.5 stars. Princess Winter, besides Scarlet, is one of my absolute favorite characters. I feel like my personality is a mix of the 2 of those characters. And this is also kind of a love story with Jason, at least that's how I pronounce Winter's guard's name, and her childhood friend. And some of the things in Fairest help us understand that relationship a little bit better. But Winter is just, I think, a very special character. And this book, like the other ones, goes between all the different characters. So sometimes we're with Cress, sometimes we're with Thorn, sometimes we're with Scarlet and Wolf. And, you know, people get separated throughout the story and different things happen. So this is a great book leading to the conclusion of the Lunar Chronicles and the climactic point of the entire series, as well as an epic battle. So this is Winter, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Lastly, we have Stars Above, which I enjoyed, and I gave 4 stars. It had the Queen's Army in it, which was in, I think, the back of my book Scarlet. But it's all short stories, and it's kind of background stories, and there's one pretty much for each character. So we have a little background short story on Scarlet and her grandmother. We have the Queen's Army, which is about Wolf. There's a story about Cinder. It's called The Mechanic, but it's when Cinder and Kai meet, told from Kai's perspective, so I kind of enjoyed that. We learn about how Cress comes to be in her satellite, and we learn how Cinder came to live with her step family. And overall, there's also another story about a little android that falls in love with a human, and I guess it's supposed to be akin to The Little Mermaid. But overall, I liked the stories, but as I noticed in some of the other reviews, they mentioned that it doesn't really add anything. It just kind of elaborates on events that we kind of piece together throughout the rest of the series. There is a story at the end that's called Something Old, Something New, and I'm pretty sure you can figure out what that means, but do you know who it involves? And it was a cute little short story, but I could have done without it because I was satisfied with the ending in winter, and that's just my opinion. So I gave this book 4 stars because it was enjoyable. So overall, the Lunar Chronicles is pretty darn amazing. With a rocky start, if you check out my other review, a rocky start for Cinder with only 3 stars, but I loved Scarlet and I loved Cress, and I really loved the story of Winter. So overall, I would say the whole series for me is probably like 4.5 stars. It's a really good series. It's not my absolute favorite. That kind of goes to the Raven cycle, and I love the Wicked Lovely series by Marissa Meyer, and I love Harry Potter, of course. But this series was super enjoyable, and I really liked it. And probably down the road someday, years from now, I'll probably reread it, and I kind of hope it would be a movie because I think it would be really cool. So that's my take on the entire Lunar Chronicles series. You can check out my review of Cinder, Scarlet, and Cress. I will put a little link to that video in this video. In the meanwhile, happy reading and happy writing.